gentlemen, let's go over to the podcast screen with our nice new backdrop, the Stars office. And let's bring Tom in. Hold on, I'm going to need to pop out. Please tell me it's just going to capture the camera. He was already on, sadly not on me. Ooh! Has somebody got the hots for Mr. Tom? There he is. Brother Tom, sir, how are you?
Hello, Liam. I'm alright. How are you?
Good, man. I'm not too bad. I'm surprisingly not as tired as I thought I was going to be today, to be fair. But it's not been my first rodeo. So yeah, I was just saying, obviously, we have actually had you on before, but this tit never highlighted the VOD. I forget
Right.
these days. I forget these days that our VODs only get saved for, what is it 7 or 14 days?
Yeah, something like that.
I know
14, I
it's
think it is. 2
it's
weeks or something.
yeah, it's definitely no longer than 2 weeks. And I'm sure that used to be longer, didn't it? It used to be like a month or something like that.
Well, I feel like there has been when I look through the VODs, like this VOD expires in 28 days and something like that. So there might have been lowered actually.
Yeah,
Not 100%, but I feel like it's been a month
yeah.
before.
I seem to remember it being a hell of a lot longer, but it is what it is, I suppose. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you very much for agreeing to come back on and do it all over again. I'm sure an hour or two with me just once is enough, never mind twice. So, Tom, why don't you start us off by telling us a little bit about you? Who is Tom Parno and what makes him tick?
Tom Pano is an old fart on Twitch and trying to get out of mansions moderately fast, few times a week. Kind of moved away a little bit from the speedrunning sides of things after RE4. So I've done a lot of that, like trying to do hardcore, trying to do professional right now, and trying to get into the speedrun of that game as well. But mainly RE1 Remake on PC is my go-to game in the speedrunning world.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody in here that's seen you play that game, they'll all know that I'm not blowing smoke up your ass when I say that you're easily within the top 5 in the world in that game, if not the top 3. In fact, are you not still ranked? Is it second now with the new door skip mod?
Yeah, I'm almost top 3 in all categories, and then I have a few second places as well. Yeah.
I mean, damn, that's seriously impressive. Almost in the top 3 for all the categories within that game. That's some going. You must have put a hell of a lot of time into that.
Yeah, I started that game on console because back in the day I wasn't super into speedrunning myself or watching speedruns. So, and then I played through. I think it was on PS3, RE1 Remake HD Remaster, which was released in 2016. So back on PS3, I got the platinum for it. It was actually my first platinum I ever was interested in getting, so I got that. And then I kind of want to keep playing the game and still having some hunger to play the game, so I tried to run it as fast as I could, and then I slowly got into watching other people. Like back then, it was Carcinogen ran it a lot, and then Pessy got onto the scene pretty quickly after. So
Yeah.
it's been. So I started on console and then moved over on PC when I got my new rig, so to speak.
I mean, there's a name that you've just mentioned there, Pezzy. I mean, RE1 HD. Well, RE1 HD and Resident Evil Zero. I'm sure you'll agree with me that the guy's just built differently with those games. He's an absolute animal.
Yeah, and
But
when you see like these guys, like top tier runners, you see like the stress levels and everything, and then you watch Pessy, like it's like he's not doing anything. He's like, "What's up, dog? Brush your teeth." It's nothing really.
Yeah, and I think
It's
that's one of the things that I like the most about Pezzy is just how effortless he makes it seem. Like it's like it's second nature to him. But that being said, the fact that you're giving him a run for his money. I mean, you took a couple of the titles off him at one point, didn't you? So you must be damn proud of that.
Yeah, that's probably my proudest thing. The thing I was most proud of was, even though it was a new door skip mod, which saves a few minutes, 2 minutes, I think exactly. But I did run that, a decent run, and got world record, held it for 24 hours, forced him to run it back. I think he had actually ran it back, but he forced him to submit it, so to speak, so to put me off my pedestal. But I still have that screenshot saved, so.
But I mean, even then, when you're forcing somebody like Pezzy to either come back to a run or submit one that they'd already done, as you say, that in itself, that's
take a world record position back.
Yeah, exactly, and that in itself, that's no easy feat. I mean, what is it? What is it that's so different about this new door skip mod that has such a big difference in time?
Just joined the party.
So you had on the old door skip mod, you kind of, when you go into a door, you get a black screen for half a second, and then it phases out. Here it's kind of instant, so it's like 0.5 seconds per door, and you go through about 200 doors in a run. So,
well, yeah,
the math there.
With that many, obviously, the time is really going to add up, isn't it?
It isn't much per door, so to speak. Like it's 0.5, as I said. Like 2 doors save you a minute, but over a run, it's almost 2 minutes.
And like you say, even though it is only a small little difference in time, like you say, when there's so many of them, and then obviously you know yourself. I've experienced it with the runs that I've done. That any tiny little bit of time that you can find, you're going to jump all over it because again, you add those up over the full course of a run, and it's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with a game like that is so optimized now already. Like, it's not like people are finding new strats for the game really consistently. There are a few, but not super time save by any means. That game is optimized down to every angle of the run by Pessy himself. So
yeah, do you not think that anything with that run will ever change now? Do you think that anything that could be found has already been found?
Yeah, I think so. There might be some lines so you can kind of take if you nitpick really, but I don't think it's gonna change much. I think it's so optimized, especially there's some runs that aren't. Well, if you go Jill any percent, which is mainly the RAN category, I don't think you can find anything there. But in other categories that aren't like so competitive, like knife only and stuff like that, you have how you get Crimson Elder stuck and how you get Jawn stuck, but there's probably things that could be explored there if someone was interested in trying to go for world records.
And with obviously there's quite a few different boards within the game. Like you say, you've got the Jill any percent, you've got the, is it 100% ending? Is there a board for just a standard good ending, like just saving one character as opposed to both, or is that not?
No, not in the main categories, because main categories you have any percent, which is obviously the fastest way possible, and the best ending. You have knife only, new game plus, and then you have, if you do all bosses, you kind of need to save one character because you need to force a fight with the helipad tyrant. So in your case, you let Barry live. He can die in the Lisa fight, that's fine, as long as you say yes to him living, so to speak, giving his gun back. And with Chris, you just say Rebecca.
So for saving Barry there to force the tyrant fight, it's not necessarily that he has to survive for the full run. It's just a case of giving him his gun back.
No, you just need to say yes to give him the gun back. If he dies there, you still will you have made a choice to get not the
Right.
best ending, but a semi-good ending, I guess.
So then, if that was to happen, even though Barry had died and you'd not gone to save Chris, you still get the final time.
Mm-hmm. You get the
Oh,
helipad
okay.
fight, yeah.
See, I would have. I would have assumed that if he'd have got knocked off, it would be a case of that. You know, it was just basically it turns into any percent again. I didn't actually know that one. But with all the different boards, which one would you say is the toughest that you've ran so far?
Toughest I ran so far is probably Chris' best ending, Real Survival.
Oh wow,
It's a really fun run, but it's rough.
yeah. I mean, I've played Real Survival. I've played as Chris. That doesn't sound too fun to me.
It's a pretty tough run, especially with Crimson Elder, with Chris on Real Survival. Normal with Crimson Elder, you have a grenade that you force him, but no grenades in the route for Real Survival. So you have to
Oh
knife him
wow.
and hope for the best. Like not knife him, but get a self-defense dagger, and then you
Yeah.
need to shoot him like 6, 7, 8 times, something like that, and with a handgun. That's not very fun because you have no auto aim on hard mode.
Yeah, I'll leave runs like that for you. That doesn't sound like anything that I'd fancy trying my hand in anytime soon. I get gamer rage when something goes wrong, full stop, and I run. Well, not necessarily easy categories per se, but the ones that are on the easy difficulty. So something
I
like that,
mean,
credit to you.
there's a reason I've been holding off on that the best ending real survival categories until just recently. So it was just me trying to get times on the boards. It's a
And
pretty fun run, but yeah, it's very challenging.
and with the real survival, are you planning on doing both characters?
I've done jail best ending real survival as well. It's you can in a way it's even more challenging than Chris, as you have to kind of use both shotgun and grenade launcher because there's not enough grenade launcher ammo in the run to go through the full game. All the ammo you have on hard mode will have to go for Tyrant too.
Hmm.
So you mainly use shotgun for the other boss fights.
Okay. And what is it about Resident Evil One remaster that has made you invest so much time into it? Of all games out there that you could have picked, why that one?
I always loved the game. I remember when it came out in GameCube. It's the only reason I bought the GameCube back then was for RE0, RE1 Remake, and then Legend of Zelda Master Quest, Ocarina of Time.
Hmm.
Those were the three games, and I thought first when I played the remake back then, like, I know, on the back of my hand, I know Resident Evil 1. This will be a cakewalk up until first Crimson. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm out.
Believe me,
But
I felt like that with
I always
Nosferatu.
loved the kind of setting of that game. Like all from the ambience, the lightning just pulling down when you're in the dining room, the music, and just very eerie feeling overall. So I always loved the game for that. And it's a very challenging speedrun as well. It's not like the other OGs. You need to really master the dodge,
Hmm.
pull in, pull out strat, and it's really interesting. It's a really hard speed run to learn, but it's a very fun run.
I can imagine it is quite a quite a hard one to learn though, which is probably one of the things that stopped me from learning it. To be fair, I mean, I've seen myself run it more times than I can count. Like you say, I've looked at the likes of Pezzy and some of the other guys that are on the board. What if there was one particular thing? What in relation to the run would you say is the most difficult to learn?
Most difficult to learn is kind of timing from when you dodge, because when you dodge zombies in particular, you want to go up to them, force them to into a grab animation, and then you need to go back or turn around them. And then you need to know exactly when to pass them when their animation is over, so you won't go into their animation while it's still happening, because then you
Yeah.
will have a grab. So that's
All
more the
right.
timing of that.
Hmm. And how long would you say it took you to learn that? Because I mean, I've tried it myself, not for a speed run, just when I've been playing the game casually, and I've just thought, I'll give it a go. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I don't know what it is.
I would say learning it didn't take that long, quite a few runs to kind of get the gist of how it's done.
Hmm.
Mastering it, that's another story. I don't think I fully mastered it yet, but
But isn't there? Is there a bit of RNG that's an RNG element that's involved with that as
yeah,
well?
the RNG element in this game mainly is for zombies because, as I said, you want to go up to them, force them into a bite animation, and then move back so you can easily pass them. Some zombies we like to refer as sleepers. You move up to them and they just stand there like absolute idiots, doesn't do anything. So either you try to dance around them, trying them to go to another direction so you can pass them, or you just tank a bite because if they're sleepers, they will just stand there and either you take a bite or you lose time. So it's one of those. And most areas in Resident Evil 1 remake with zombies in it, it's either guardhouse or mansion. It's not a lot of space. It's not a lot of open areas. It's a lot of hallways, corridors.
Yeah, some of those corridors are really bloody narrow as well, so I can
Yeah,
imagine you.
so you don't have much leeway in terms of that. So
Mm. Now, there was a game that you mentioned earlier, actually, that I want to bring up because it's one that it seems to have a bit of a bad press, and I don't necessarily agree with it. But Resident Evil Zero. Now, don't get me wrong, I can understand people's gripe with it. I understand what people are saying. There's no item box, there's no this, there's no that. But personally, I really enjoy that game. I'm not sure why people don't appreciate it as much as what they do the other ones. What's your take on that?
my take is it's a very hard game. I
Mm.
love Zero. I will stand and shout from the rooftop saying it's a great game. But I agree with you. It's very underrated. A lot of people are overlooking it. I think it comes down to it's really hard. As I said, it starts off really hard in the train to begin with, and it doesn't get easier. And you have the no item box, and yeah, if you played like RE1 remake, it's kind of the same. In a speedrun perspective, it's kind of the same. You move into zombies, pull back, wait for a grab animation, but that grab animation is a lot longer.
Yeah.
So you can get away with it on RE1 HD and pass by, but as long as their hands are they are fully like in normal mode again, you'll be grabbed anyway. So it's a lot tougher. It's pretty much the same stuff, but yeah, it's tougher.
Um,
And yeah, I think a lot of enemies in that game is annoying to people too, like the Eliminators and stuff like that, and the Mimicry Marcuses.
do you know what? I think the worst one for me, when I was doing the platinum grind for that game, was the moth, and it was only. I think I'd attempted it a good. I think my attempts were in double figures, and it wasn't necessarily that I was. It wasn't that I was dying. I was running out of ammo because it kept moving, and a lot of my shots they were just going off into the air. Like I wasn't actually hitting it. I can't remember
What do you
who I
mean
spoke to.
the bat or?
Sorry, yeah, the bat. Sorry.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
And then I found out obviously that you can stun lock it, which made
Mm.
it.
You
I want
stand
to
in
say
like
it
one
was
certain spot and you just unlock it in place. Yeah,
yeah, and I think when I did that, it took. Is it five, maybe six flame rounds on hard mode?
yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah,
It was
that
very
was.
tough if you don't know what to do in that fight. You like either you just waste shots or you shoot to the small bats instead.
Yeah, I think that's what kept happening with me as well. If I weren't missing, I was just hitting the small bats around it. I was
Yeah,
I was just dealing no damage to the main boss.
It's probably the hardest boss in the game as well. Like,
Mm. When you mentioned though, obviously about the difference there in the grab animations for the Zero speedrun, have you done a run of Zero?
I have done some new game plus runs to kind of get used to the game. I haven't really fully immersed myself in it, but I want to do it. I've gotten up on the boards in like eighth place or something on New Game Plus.
And
So I
I'd
need to
assume,
learn some of the strats, mainly the scorpion skip and stuff like that. But
yeah, I've heard something about that. Is it something to do with putting the knife down or something along those lines?
yeah, you put like an item down, and then you try when the attack animation happening, you try to pick it up, and then it will just phase through you. Only works on what is it like 30 FPS?
Oh, right,
So on
okay.
PC, you have to change to 30 FPS for that fight, while on console, have actually an advantage as it is 30 FPS all the time, so you don't have to do anything, you don't lose time on it.
Yeah, okay.
So it's nice to see that console players actually get some nice things thrown their way sometimes.
Yeah, that's a bit of a rarity, isn't it? Normally, it's a
Um,
case of console versus PC. The PC is going to win every time. So yeah,
yeah,
that's nice to see. Um,
especially if a game is running on 120 compared to 30.
have you got any? Is there any other Resident Evil games that you're interested in speedrunning that maybe you've perhaps not got around to yet?
Yeah, it's Code Veronica probably that I talked about trying to learn quite a few times.
Oh,
Got
you'll
it
get.
set up and everything, but haven't got around to learning it just yet. But yeah, that's definitely up there. I've had some. We have had races on RE1 in the past, so some runs on that. Ran RE2 pretty frequently, RE2 remake as well. And now I'm kind of interested in learning no major glitches for RE4 remake. So
I'll have to keep my eye out with that one. I mean, speaking of which, the races. Oh God, I'm pretty sure now. I think there's only yourself and Matt that I've raced and never beaten.
you beat me on RE1 though.
Did I? Oh, that's
You got the PB on our last race.
yeah. Do you know what? Yeah, I remember that because I think um, I think at the time, I think at the time my PB was something like 40-26. And then we had that race, which is what made me go back to it. And then about two, maybe three runs later, I knocked out a sub 40. Um,
Yeah, because you were always better on me at that game. Mine was like 41 on the dot, 41.07 or something. So you were like 20, 30 seconds faster than me. But then you pulled out a PB in that race. So hats off to that.
it happens sometimes, the sun shines on a bear's ass once or twice. But I do remember racing you on RE2, and I remember getting absolutely slapped at that one. Was it Clairby New Game Plus? I want to say we did.
Oh yeah, on remake, yeah.
What?
Because that's probably the category I ran the most back on console days. I think I got top 10 for it as well on both PC and console. It's a
Yeah.
pretty interesting run, New Game Plus on that game.
Well, it was
Because you
saying
can
though.
ask people like Snake will hate you for running New Game Plus, but I'll say New Game Plus is a really good thing for runners that want to get better at other categories as well. I have a lot of time to thank R1 HD for New Game Plus because I started running New Game Plus and my lines got so much better. Because New Game Plus, you don't you have one hit kill on all bosses, so
Yeah.
all that matters is your menuing and your movement. And if you get your movement down to a T, you will see if you run any percent after that, you're gonna have so much time save on just lines. And the
Oh, of
same goes
course,
for
yeah.
RE2 Remake.
Yeah, I think I actually agree with what you said there. I think New Game Plus is a very good way for runners to, like you say, learn things like lines without the
Mm-hmm.
pressure of I'm coming up to this boss. I need to do X, Y, and Z. I mean, it effectively, like you say, allows you to just concentrate all of your focus into your lines and your menus and things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Or into remake is going to be lines, menuing, and shoot properly.
yeah,
Like when you're gonna use your rocket launcher, you gotta know where you will shoot, so you don't stagger yourself, and you get what you want out of the shot, so to speak.
yeah. What cost me quite a bit when I was running Claire B quite a lot was G1 because of the auto aim. For
Oh yeah,
whatever
yeah,
reason, for I was running it for months and months before I thought just turn auto aim off. Um,
yes.
and I
Because
kept coming into
you
G1.
never want to hit things head on. You want to hit like to the side of them, so you don't stagger yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like I said, looking back now, I don't know why it took me so long to cotton onto this because it's when you think about it, it's obvious.
Yeah,
Just turn it off because otherwise it is going to lock onto the enemy.
because you don't want to hit anything head on anyway. So
No, well, exactly. Especially with G1 because obviously you start off pretty close to G1 anyway, don't you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. You start very close. You want to basically like you want to shoot to the wall to the left of him or whatever it is, but you don't want to shoot too close to yourself. And
Mm. And do you know what? Speaking of RE2, is that one that you think you'll ever go back to, or are you done with RE2 now?
no, I think that's definitely a possibility. I need to definitely put some time into it, but I'm pretty happy with the times I have on the Claire. I don't have no interest in running Leon on it because I don't like it. But I'm definitely interested in going back to like Claire A and Claire B standard.
Yeah. Um,
My favorite RE game is RE2 OG because of nostalgia reasons, but it's very close to RE1 Remake. It's a tight battle at the top, Puffle.
I think a lot of people, especially us older heads, if you will, with the Resident Evil games, I think a lot of them will say, if you ask them what their favourite is, it would be RE2 OG. It's one that's obviously very, very popular amongst the older RE fans.
Oh yeah.
Is
Yeah,
there?
like the original RE1, but like RE2 is something else from like the story, the four scenarios, you get the hug, the tofu survivor, you get so much for what you paid for.
Oh,
Like,
100%. I think with with RE2 OG for me in particular, I think what it did was obviously you had RE1, which was quite unique. There wasn't really anything much like that game when it first dropped. Way back in 1996. And I think what Resident Evil 2 did was it took everything good about the original, and for me did it better,
yeah,
quite a bit better as well. Like you say, with the introduction of the multiple different scenarios, not necessarily the different characters, but the fact that you had the two different scenarios that you could do with each character. I thought that was really intriguing.
and then you have like a different characters for different main character. Like play with Claire, you meet the chief. You with
Mm.
Leon, you meet Ben, Ada. Like with Claire, you meet Sherry. So you kind of play it the first time around with either Leon or Claire, and then you play it again with other character. Who is this character? I never met this character before.
Well, the one thing that still to this day confuses me with RE2OG, obviously, as we both know, the canon, like the proper story, is Claire A and Leon B.
Mhm.
So when it was first released on the PlayStation 1, why was Leon Disc 1 and Claire Disc 2? That to me makes no sense at all.
I'm not even sure they knew what was the canon scenarios. Like it's something that probably. Oh, that makes sense. This is canon now. When we've done more games, so okay, good. Let's go with that.
I mean, to be honest, it was only when was it that I learned that doing Claire first was canon? Um, it was after I started streaming and all that, so it's been within the last couple of years, and I've been playing RE2 OG for, oof, gotta be 20 years at least. It's been a hell of a long time I've been playing that game, and then I found out that's the proper way to do it, and I'm like, surely not. Surely you're wrong with that, because I thought at that particular time I knew everything there was to know about Resident Evil 2. I didn't even know that speedrunning existed. I was beating it in an hour 45, thinking, yeah, I'm one of the best in the world at this, and then little did I know.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same here. Like, oh, so Claire B isn't considered to be canon, and then I played through it like with that in the back of my head, and so yeah, this doesn't make sense. We never met Ada, and we get a fucking rocket launcher from her. So what's this all about?
Yeah, because you look back now, and there are certain things that you pick up on that do kind of hint that that's the way to go about it. But yeah,
it's pretty hard to see if you don't know what to look for. But if you know what to look for, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, exactly. Is there any games that you speedrun that aren't Resident Evil titles?
Well, I've speedrun a little bit of Clock Tower on PlayStation. That's pretty much the only game I have kind of got into. I'm been interested in doing some, but never got around to it. But yeah, some Clock Tower. I've been interested in doing some Clock Tower 3 down the line. I really like that game. So
do you know what? It's one that I'm going to have to check out because I hear people mention it quite a lot. And you know what? I'm not even sure if I've ever watched a stream of it. Never mind, played it myself. No, I don't think I have. But there's so many people that have mentioned Clock Tower to me now that it's definitely something that I'm going to have to check out. What about non speedrun wise? Let's to paint a picture. Let's say that you burnt out with speedrunning and you don't really fancy playing Resident Evil. Is there any other like sort of franchise that would be your go-to in that sort of instance? Any other one that you not necessarily like as much as Resident Evil, but one that you've played quite a lot of?
Well, I would probably go for two. Then I would probably say Metal Gear. It's always been pretty close to my heart, and Final Fantasy, and kind of things in that. Suikoden's always been my go-to. But I loved a lot of Final Fantasy games, but Suikoden 1 and 2 has been kind of my favorite JRPGs. But
yeah, and see, this is why I love this man. See, Puffle, Final Fantasy, fuck you.
So if we talk about Final Fantasy, I would just raise up Final Fantasy X because I love that game.
Oh, that was. Again, I think with 10, that was a bit of a game changer. I mean, 7 and 8, I thought were absolutely phenomenal. 9 was one that I'd not experienced as much.
I never really got into it, but it's a good game. But I really need to play it again now because I haven't played since I was younger. So I probably have to experience that.
We'll see if you ever do. If you ever do decide to go into Final Fantasy 8, once you've beaten it, I've got a mod for you to try out that Lewis sent to me.
8 I have finished. It's 9 I never got into.
Oh, sorry, do apologise. Well, yeah, there's a mod that Lewis sent to me for Final Fantasy 8. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's called Crystal Mod.
No, I don't think so. I might have heard it in passing, but
I'll have to send you the link to it for you to try out because it completely changes the whole concept of the game. So obviously Final Fantasy VIII is one of those that it again gets a lot of unjustified hate, I feel. One of the main issues being is that you can make your characters really overpowered really early if you know what you're doing. And my answer to that is always, well, just don't. Just don't do it if you've got that much of an issue. But what
can't you go through that game really easy too? Like you don't level up at all, and all the enemies are terrible.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of different things that you can do to stop yourself being overpowered early doors. But with Crystal Mod, what it does is it basically takes that concept away from you. So, for example, the first thing that I found out with the Crystal mod, there's no junction ability for your stats. So you can't
Ah,
junction
okay.
anything to your stats, which makes it a hell of a lot harder. But they've sort of changed quite a lot of the bosses as well, so they can use different attacks. They don't have the same attack patterns as what they do in the vanilla version. I mean, for starters, Ifrit, not only are his attacks different, but he's also paired with a Buell that every so often will cast fire magic on him to heal him. But they've changed so much about it that although it's the same game, same setting, same environment, etc., it's like playing the game. It's like an entirely different version of that game.
Yeah.
And when I started playing through it, I absolutely fucking loved it. I'm stuck on it now, so got quite a bit frustrated and put it down. But yeah, if Final Fantasy is your jam, if you like Final Fantasy, I'd definitely recommend the Crystal mod.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
So with obviously not speaking about games, specific games for a second. If we go over to the whole Twitch environment. I mean, I know you've been on Twitch for quite a while now, haven't you? I think you've definitely been on it longer than me, if memory
Yeah,
serves.
I started it very early and then kind of did the occasional streams here and there, nothing too serious, and kind of dropped off for a bit and then came back. And now the last 3 years or so, been more consistent with it.
What what was it that got you into streaming in the first place?
It was kind of just hanging out on Twitch and see people just enjoying it, like having fun. So I thought to myself, I'm here playing games. I have a good shitty microphone and a shitty camera, and can just put some streams up when I talk to myself, and maybe I meet some idiots like me, and I met some idiots like myself over the years. I've made a lot of friends. I'm pretty happy with that.
And was there, I mean, was there one particular thing that you know drew you to Twitch as the platform? Because I think about back then, would it have been, I want to say Twitch, Mixer, and Facebook?
Yeah, it's probably just before Mixer came onto the scene when I started, but yeah, it was probably Twitch and Facebook gaming, I suppose.
Hmm. And what
And it's more that I kind of was on Twitch a lot, got
hmm.
into some community and tried it out and just enjoyed it for what it was. Yeah, it was a lot more variety for me than I wasn't a Resident Evil streamer back then. I was
Hmm.
playing a lot of variety, like Borderlands. I was playing some old PlayStation games and stuff like that.
So I mean, obviously now, Mixer, as far as I'm aware, is no longer around. Facebook gaming
No,
again is the same. We've now got this new platform that seems to be on the horizon, Kick,
yeah,
which seems to have sort of come out of nowhere, and now you've got people that are moving over from Twitch to Kick. What's your take on this? This new Kick platform.
I think it's. I can see why people are moving over with the deals they have in place, like what you get out for subs and whatnot.
Hmm.
If I think it's something that hold in the long run, no, I don't think it would hold in the long run, but I can definitely see why people will move over and make some bucks on it while it's still active. Because yeah, like here on Twitch, you have like a 50% revenue of what you get in. That is like 90% to the streamer. So I can totally see that, and that is run by the gambling companies is kind of a bit monkeys, but it is what it is. And if people want to move over there,
Yeah, I
totally
mean,
their choice, and I have nothing to say about that.
yeah, it's I'm quite with you there. At the end of the day, people are going to do what they think's best for them.
Hmm.
I mean, I think me personally, I've just got zero interest. Basically because like I don't do Twitch to get something back from it.
Right.
Me getting into Twitch was something that gave me company during a period in my life where that was basically the only sort of interaction I was getting, because I started during lockdown.
Yeah, like a lot of other people did.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's probably the only thing we have to be thankful for about the good old COVID thing. A lot of people started streaming and we met a lot of people during the pandemic. So,
Well, exactly. That's how I met yourself, Matt, the rest of the team RPD. I mean, there's people that are in that chatting away now that if COVID would have hit, would I ever have met them? Who knows? But I think when it comes to Twitch versus Kick, I think what keeps me on Twitch is just it's simply the fact that that's where everybody that I know is. Do you know what I mean? That's where my community is. It's where all my friends are. Yeah, myself personally, like you say, I can understand why people would want to move over, but not for me.
yeah, it definitely is whatever is for you. Like, I no interest in it because I'm not in for the money anyway. All the revenue I get, which isn't a lot, but
Yeah.
you get something back and you invest in whatever you need. So I'll take that. have no interest in making this my full-time living, but I do respect people going for that. And if they are going for that, then kick is a good thing because you get a lot more back from it. So
Oh, of course, yeah,
I can see the interest
yeah, one
in
hundred
that
percent.
sense.
Is there when it comes to streaming, um, you know, moving forward for the future? Is there have you got any particular goals in mind?
Well, not really long-term goals in that sense. It's more like trying to be as consistent as I can, have as much fun as I can, uh, meet new people, and just enjoy it, really.
Yeah, and again, I'm sort of with you there with that. I don't think there's any particular long term goals in mind with myself. I mean, I think it's we all sort of have that thought in our heads that it'd be nice to make it to the big leagues, if we say. It'd be nice to
Right.
end up partner someday and have X, Y, and Z. But for me, it's more just enjoying the journey. I think in terms of goals, it's more the games that I'm streaming where my goals are.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, obviously, I've recently gone back to Code Veronica, and I'm starting to improve my run on that. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I can start to sort of climb the board with it. I mean, I've got to a point now where I'm having to do research because Code Veronica, it's one that I've just basically taught myself. I didn't go looking for what to do. Similar to what you said before, it's a game that I felt like I knew very well anyway.
Yeah.
So just started running. But it's getting to a stage now where I don't think there's anything left that I'm going to find, if that makes sense. I think if I'm gonna find something now that's gonna help me improve times to a decent degree, that's gonna put me up through the board, I'm gonna have to go out and research them and see what these other runners are doing. I mean, is that something that you ever do with your runs? Do you ever sit and study what somebody else does and then try and replicate it with yours?
I have a full notepad back here with just notes of games. So I'm more of a speedrunner in theory than in practice because I do a lot of studying before I actually starting.
I mean, that's fair enough. I think we've all obviously got
I'll
our own
show you my
methods, haven't we?
notepad. Give me a second. There you go.
Oh wow, you
It
weren't
says
kidding. That is a big
speedrun on it.
notepad.
We have RE1 here, RE2. We have RE3, which I haven't ran, CVX, and then a little bit of mods and stuff like that in other games. So.
Do you know what? Actually, Puffle has just asked a very very intriguing question there in the chat. So she says, don't you guys feel like social media, Twitch included, gets overwhelming sometimes? What do you do when you feel like it's getting a bit too much? Tom, do you want to go first with that one?
Yeah, that definitely happens. I can, like, Twitch can get a bit overwhelming in many different ways. You can sometimes you start to kind of analyze too much. You kind of look, oh, I had a lot of more interaction in my streams last week than I had this week, and that's the rabbit hole you kind of go down. And if you're a new streamer as well, you start to kind of compare yourself to other people doing the same thing as you. If you, for instance, let's say, start speedrunning, let's say RE2, for instance, then you start to compare yourself to other people speedrunning it. And you see your numbers and you see other people numbers, but the problem is other people like might have streamed for a long time, a lot of traction in communities and stuff like that. So you should really focus on your own thing. That's what I thought anyway, or what I've learned over the course of the journey. Everyone's journey on Twitch is different after all, and you just have to grow in your own pace and feel confident in your own stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, that whole self doubt is something that I'm pretty sure everybody on Twitch, anybody that's done it for a decent length of time, it's something that always creeps in. Like you say, if the games that you're playing aren't necessarily going too well, or you feel like your stats aren't necessarily where they should be, your chat isn't as interactive as maybe what it was a few weeks back. I think that self doubt sort of naturally creeps in.
Yes, definitely.
Especially if, like you say, you make that mistake of comparing yourself to other people. Because yeah, it could be if I use me and yourself as an example, Tom. It could be that one week I've got 20 odd viewers playing exactly the same game as you, and then the following week I've only got 5, but I see you there with 50. And there's multiple different reasons why that could be. Could just simply be the fact that the people that were watching you a couple of weeks ago just fancy a bit of a change and want to watch somebody different. And it doesn't mean that that's anything wrong with you as a streamer or anything particularly against you. But I think just naturally, you're going to look back on that and a bit of self doubt is going to creep in. But 100%, the most important thing is the enjoyment out of it, because that's the reason why I like watching people like yourself so much, is because I think that as a streamer, it really comes across whether you're enjoying what you're doing or not. And if you're not enjoying it, then
Right.
how can you expect other people to?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're like new, I always said this, but don't look at numbers that roughly when you're starting out. If you have like 2 3 people in there are 2 3 people that decided to go out of their day to watch your stream after all,
Yeah,
and no one else's. So
yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, the lad that lives with me, Aaron, he's recently took himself to streaming.
mm,
And one of the first things that I mentioned to him when he started was, look, don't overanalyze your figures. You're gonna have those stages, especially just starting out. Where it feels like you're just talking to yourself for a couple of hours, which again, we all went through. I remember when I first started streaming, and what I basically did was I was playing through a game almost as if I was doing a video tutorial, just explaining what I'm doing to nobody in particular.
right.
And then obviously over time, people come in, you get chatting away to people, and you just make it a good experience for them so that those people come back. But yeah, in terms of comparison to other people, it's a very dark rabbit hole to go down, because you can end up not enjoying yourself just purely on that basis that you're comparing yourself to, like you say, somebody that might have been around for a lot longer than you.
Yeah, and that's also like the case when you start out. it's really the most difficult time you will have because you don't have your core group or anything. So you need to kind of make conversation with no one, like some
Yeah,
pull conversation topics out of the air. While when you have a kind of core group, like 3, 4 people is enough. You can kind of
yeah,
give and take from chat. Chat start to talk about something, and then you can put ideas out there or put their ideas in, and you have conversation topics to go off. When it's just you, it's really difficult. You
hundred
really
percent.
need to be very good at that kind of stuff to really make make conversation out of it with yourself.
I think the other one that people tend to suffer with quite a lot as well is burnout. You know,
Mm.
overcommitting yourself, and Lord knows I've done that before. um, is that something that you yourself have ever experienced, like where you just feel like you're giving too much?
Yeah, it happens especially for me. I don't have like times where I put too much time on my streams, but it have been times where I've had like 6 days in a row, or it might be 6 days in a row while I'm done the same game when I done like speed runs, and it just gets up here sometimes, and you just need to do something else. If it's taking a break or just do some casual playthroughs of some retro games or whatever it is, you need to put that away for a bit and just focus on something else and just heal really.
Yeah,
Because you just go in, you don't just go into the wall, you just go through the wall after a while.
yeah. That's something that I sort of learned the hard way. I think, especially in terms of playing the same game over and over and over. Um,
Yeah,
the one the one that really
and
got me,
especially if you speedrun a game over and over and over, same category, and you're getting nowhere.
yeah,
Like you play the same game for a week and you haven't a PB to show for it at the end of the week, then you just, what am I doing with myself? Why am I doing this? I don't enjoy this. How are other people enjoying this?
yeah. The one that
Like,
really taught me that was when I was really going for it with Battle Game on Code Veronica.
oh
Um,
yeah, I
and
remember that.
yeah, and I remember there was a friend of mine that I was really close to at the time who basically watched me 24/7. Whenever I was live, they were there, and I was getting really frustrated because, like you say, I'm running it over and over and over, and I'm not getting where I needed to get,
Right.
which got very frustrating, and that really came across. And I got a message saying, "Look, Liam, you need to have a look. Go back and watch that VOD because, like, you know me. You know that I love watching you. You know that I love supporting you. But earlier on, you were live, and I felt uncomfortable, and that was quite a big eye opener for me. That. So now what I'll do is, if I'm running something and I do feel like I'm getting nowhere, put it down. Put it down. Give
Yep.
it good few weeks. Sometimes I'll give it a good few months, and then just come back to it with a fresh set of eyes. Because, like, when you're running something over and over, you get that sort of danger that you're too locked in what you're doing to notice anything else. And again, like I sort of mentioned earlier, Code Veronica, I used to run that a hell of a lot more than what I do now. Got to a stage where I was saying I don't think there's much time for me to find. Put it down for
Mhm.
6 months. I've come back to it recently and got 2 PBs within 3 streams. So, that in itself is proof for me that sometimes a break's all that's needed.
Well, it's kind of what scared me too. Like when I ran RE1 HD every day for a few weeks, like starting to not enjoy it anymore. So I was kind of scared I would never enjoy the game again. So I just put it away for a few weeks and then get back to it. And I was like, oh, this is fun again. Thank God.
I've always wanted to
Like
ask
you don't
this.
want to burn out totally on a game to that extent that you hate the game forever. Like,
No, exactly. I've always wanted to ask this, doesn't it get a bit boring playing the same game over and over? I'm asking because I got bored pretty easily, so it would be pretty hard for me to play with the same game all the time. Um, I mean, for me personally, there probably depends on what you're doing with it. I think with speedrunning, yeah, it can do sometimes, but it depends on how the runs are going because, and I'm sure Tom will agree with this, you get a PB and it's a brilliant feeling and you want that feeling again, so you go
Mm.
hunting for it. And I think that's what stops it from becoming just boring. Whereas, if you were playing it casually, just doing a normal playthrough and just kept doing the same thing over and over, yeah, I can imagine it would get really boring.
Also, whatever you do with the game, having a goal would like be the easy part and not make it get boring. Because if you take it on a speedrunning sense, say you're having a run that's about an hour for you, and you feel you can get a 58, and then you put a goal on 58, and you gradually get climbing up to, then you start smelling that 58, and then when you hit it, it's just
Yeah, exactly. So you have to find. Yeah, I think this is one of the things that I like about the Resident Evil games so much is because it might not appear on the face of it, but there's so many different things you can do with them. You've got speed runs, no damage, kill all, 100% runs where you pick every item up and you try and find every file. There's plenty of different things that you can do, and as long as you change it up enough, you can make it so that you never really have that problem.
Also, achievements and trophies in games really helps that as well. Kind of trying to get 100% in a game you really enjoy, like,
Mm,
oh, I can get a trophy or an achievement for not using the item box. I can get it for being minimalist, just using the handgun and knife, just a knife, no saves.
yeah,
So you
and
really have, if you want to go for that, it's really interesting goals set inside the game already.
yeah, and I think that's where, especially in terms of console play, I think that's where the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 really took things to the next level.
Mm.
Because I mean, there were games that I used to play. You could say Resident Evil, and you'd have a look at the trophy list, and some of the things that are on there are things that I'd have just never thought to have done for myself. Like you say, don't
Right,
use the item box. I'd have never come up with that on my own.
right.
Go through the game knife only. That's what actually made me do a knife only run for the first time was the achievement in RE1 remaster.
Mm.
Using only the knife. I'd have never thought to have done that on my own.
I think it was actually my last trophy on that game, or if it was invisible enemies, I can remember. But
Do you know my last trophy for the platinum on that? Um, I can't remember what the trophy's called, but it was the one where you explore all of the map, and I can't
every
remember.
nook and cranny.
That's the one. And what was it? There was something that I kept missing. I can't now remember what it was. It might have been a file in the might have been a file in the lab. Where you have the keypad code to get the
Mm.
power room key. I want to say. There
Yeah,
was some.
power on key. Yeah.
Yeah, there was something in there that I kept missing over and over. Um, I, I got really, really frustrated with it. So again, came away from it, went back, and eventually got it. How do you guys remember the routes and where to pick things up and remember all the small detail? Experience. To be honest, that's my only answer for that. Is once you've done it so many times, it sort of becomes second nature. I mean, I'm sure Tom will agree with this one, but you get to a stage where you don't have to think, right, I have to go in that room and pick up this particular item. You just do it naturally because that's what you're used to.
Right, for me, it's like I start off like watching rounds, taking notes on how other people do it. Then I do it like similar to them. Like if this is my first run, I probably go a lot safer than they do. And
Mm.
then the more runs I do, I did this with RE2 remake when it came out because I watched someone like a world record run or whatever they did on console, and then I kind of started by picking up the grenade launcher, picking up a lot of heals and stuff like that. And as I did runs on it and got better at it, I just dropped picking up the grenade launcher and just gradually getting more confident in my abilities to run the game, and then I just started to go through my notes on the routes. And also, if you run with splits, you have a easier way. You can kind of look on your splits and say, okay, so now it's time for that item. Now it's time for that room. So you
Yeah,
kind of have a general direction on where to go there.
yeah, splits definitely helps. But I'm completely with you there. You know, when it comes to learning a new run, what I'll do is take the safest route possible, um, and then, like you say, you know, just slowly but surely start to get a bit riskier and a bit riskier.
Yeah,
Um,
because I've seen people like watching a world record run and trying to do like replicate that right away. It's just not for me. I wouldn't
no,
enjoy that at all.
no. I think what would be the killer there for me is that if, like you say, you know, if I was to look at a run, study the world record, and try and replicate that move for move, I just know that it's going to be failure after failure after
Mm,
failure, and I'd lose all motivation for it because I wouldn't be seeing any results. Because let's be honest, if you're new to a run and you watch the world record and try and do that straight from the bat, the vast majority of people are going to fail. Unless you're just naturally gifted at that game, you're going to fail.
yeah, because most games have some kind of thing in like strats that you don't know about, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, say, for RE1HG, for example, you have quick shooting for dogs. You can't do that without knowing how to do that because it's a very gradual process of practice. I'm no master of it yet because you use it once in the run and it's for the dogs and dog collar, and you aim, and normally when you tap you shoot normally like pom pom pom, but then you hit on the proper frame and you go three times in a row, and it's really finicky. You need to hit it on. It's easier on console actually because need to hit it on the proper frame, and it's a lot easier on 30 FPS than it is on 120
and I,
because you have 30 frames and not 120 frames.
yeah, and I think the other side to it as well is, for me, it's quite important to know not just why you're doing things in a particular way or in a particular order, but why you're doing them as well. You need to know why it, you know, you've got to press this particular button or that particular button. I think that's a really big important side of the, you know, the whole speed running
Mm.
idea. Coming away from gaming for a while though, and obviously this is something that we spoke about last time, something that we're both really interested in, which is quite obvious there from your background, football.
Yes.
I mean, I think the season's getting a little bit more back to normality, shall we say, as opposed to when we last spoke. But there have still been some really strange results.
Yeah.
I mean, Chelsea ma- mathematically could still go down.
Yeah, they could.
How how is that possible with, you know, the amount of signings that they've had and the amount of money that they've spent for a club like Chelsea? I mean, did you ever think that we'd be saying that at this point in the season, that Chelsea could mathematically still be relegated?
I thought they would struggle because they took so many players in for so much money, and like, but I didn't think they would struggle like this. Probably like sixth, seventh, maybe
Hmm.
at worst, but not like this.
Yeah, I mean, I never had them down as title challengers, like you say, because I mean, when you change your squad that much, you know, it's going to take time. You've got to give new players that time to bed into the
I
squad and
definitely thought they
whatnot.
would battle out for a Champions League position for sure, not
Yeah, yeah.
battling it out for a relegation spot.
I mean, to be honest, I actually said a few years ago that I expect the Premier League to be a two-horse race for a number of years. I thought it was going to be between yourselves and City for 5, 10 years perhaps.
Mhm.
And then this season's just kind of been like, yeah, it's not panned out that way at all. I mean, who'd have thought?
No,
Again, who would have thought that at this point in the season you'd be talking about Arsenal as potential title contenders?
right.
I mean, I do think the thing with Arsenal, well, there we go, bleed puffle there. I think what Arsenal have done is that they've bought well. Um, are they on City's? Are they in City's league? I don't think so. You know, I think they're
No, I don't
still
think so either. I think they had spells of this season, Arsenal, that's top tier, and they've been very consistent with getting the results. But if you take City's highest level, Arsenal highest level, Arsenal isn't even close to City's highest level.
no, no, of course not. And I think it showed when they played each other last week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what Arsenal are going to need in order to be able to contend with City is they still need a couple of key signings because you know you looked at that game and Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland that they just looked leagues apart from anything that Arsenal had to offer.
And then you probably have the most underrated player in the Prem as well, with Rodri holding that midfield together.
Oh, 100%. Um,
Like Rodri, Bernardo Silva, and Kevin De Bruyne. That's a disgusting midfield.
yeah, it's like football's cheat code.
I don't like Bernardo Silva. He's a proper asshole, but he's a good football player.
The other side to this season being as well is I mean, all right, you know you've climbed the table a bit since we last spoke, but you know what's happened with you guys this season?
Yeah, it's been an interesting season for us. Kind of, I was expecting us to be a little bit worse after last season, like having a bit of a hangover season, if you will. I only thought we were gonna be top three, top four at least, but
Yeah,
we haven't really invested in our squad and our midfield in terms of how Klopp is playing football. It's not really fit for that. We have Thiago who isn't doing any pressing. He has a lot of good sides to him, but that's not his game.
mm.
Henderson looking old. Milner is old. Fabinho looks like he's playing football anymore. So, it's mainly that central midfield, and then Van Dijk hasn't looked himself after the injury either.
Yeah,
And
it's a
then
shame
Trent has
because
obviously been more under pressure this season. People know he isn't that good at defending us, pressure him a lot more this season and make him look a lot worse than he is, I think.
yeah, and it's a shame with Van Dijk because you know it wasn't too long ago everybody was talking about him being the best centre half in the world, and there's a case there to say that he was. He was. I mean,
Yeah,
nobody dribbled past him for what was it 2 years?
yeah,
That's
something
that's
like that.
phenomenal. That's unreal.
I think that's tough for any kind of central defender if you get a ligament injury in your knees.
Yeah. Oh,
Come
definitely.
back from that, and then like it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah, 100%. I think the other side to this season as well, though, because you know we can sit in and say that you know there's clubs that haven't been at the races. The other side of the coin are the ones that really have that you wouldn't have expected. I mean, Newcastle for one. Okay, Newcastle had the money, but it's not as if they've gone
They haven't done
splashing it.
Chelsea.
No, exactly. You know, they've not gone throwing it around, just signing big names. You know, they've bought really well. They've had a fantastic season.
But if
Look
you see
really
the player
strong.
that's improved the most is players that have been in the club for a few years now, like Almiron.
Mm,
And then they brought in Isak, who's been good for them. But it's a lot of the older players that actually been improving. And I'm a huge fan of Eddie Howe, so
yeah,
they really hit the jackpot with that manager signing.
yeah, and I still to this day say that it was an absolute travesty that Bournemouth got rid of him. You know,
Yeah,
the man took them from League Two to the Premier League and kept them there for a few years. Okay, they went down, but you know he took that club leaps and bounds ahead of what it was when he first took over.
Yeah,
But you know, Bournemouth's loss is Newcastle's gain, I suppose, in that regard. But then there's a few
yeah,
other clubs there or thereabouts, around the sort of top six, top seven mark that you wouldn't have expected. I mean, it was only, I think, up until a week or two ago, Villa looked like, if results started to go their way, they could break into the top four potentially. All right,
yeah. If we take
it's
a look at like manager of the season, I will give it to him. Like
yeah.
taking them from 18th place to almost Champions League position. It's crazy what they've done with the clubs they've been having the last.
Oh, of
Like
course.
it took Sevilla up, and they took Villarreal to extreme good positions, and now with Villa. So
Aye, exactly. Um, right, just really quickly before we sign off, obviously we were talking a little bit earlier on about, when people first start coming onto Twitch and when they first start streaming. Is there any particular advice to somebody that you'd give that is just starting out or is maybe looking at it and is sort of on the fence, deciding whether they should or shouldn't? Is there any particular key advice that you'd give?
yeah, I would say like if you think it's something you enjoy, definitely give it a go. And definitely don't buy all the fancy equipment before you tried it out, because I've seen that happen to a lot of people, like buying the best microphone, best camera, the setup, and then they just streamed twice and it wasn't for them. So
Yeah.
try what you have, give it a few goes, and see if it's for you. And yeah, hang out in other people's streams as well. Obviously don't say that yeah, I'm going live now and stuff like that, but like hang out with people, get to learn, get to know people, and just have fun, and people will tune into your stream as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the biggest one is obviously just making sure that you have fun with it.
Yeah,
You put too much pressure on yourself too early, and it probably is going to be a bit overwhelming.
yeah, and don't go look at what are everyone watching. Like, oh, everyone is watching Fortnite, then I should play Fortnite. Don't do that.
No,
Play what you want to play, and if you go down that route, you play what everyone watch. No one will find you anyway because you will be on one viewer and like people on millions on the top. So you will be lost in the bottom there anyway. So no one will find you. So have fun and play the games you enjoy. If you enjoy playing a game, people will enjoy watching you play said game. So
yeah,
you
100%.
play a game you hate, you probably it probably will look the part as well that you aren't enjoying yourself.
100%. Right, well, listen, Tom. I just want to say again, a massive thank you for coming back on and allowing me to steal a portion of your day to come and waffle away. It really is appreciated. Is there anything in particular that you want to plug?
Well, I'm streaming on Twitch, as I said, mainly my the thing I do. I do some stuff on YouTube as well. I do some Football Manager over there on season 7 now with Darlington FC. So taking them from non-league up to League One. So it's a long journey, but it's fun. And
Football
then
Manager, what
Twitter
a game.
mainly for social.
Well, guys, you can see in the chat there's Tom's social links. You've got his Twitter, his YouTube, his Twitch. Um, he's also got am I right in saying you've still got the guide for RE1 on your YouTube?
I do, yeah. You want me to share it or
Yeah, if you can throw that in the chat, that'd be brilliant.
just find it?
While he's looking for that, though, guys, if you don't already, please do go and drop Tom a follow. I've known Tom for years now. A brilliant bloke. One of my favourite people to watch on Twitch. And like I said to him earlier, what you'll get with Tom is somebody that is just genuinely enjoying what they're doing and having a laugh with the community. And there you go. And he's also a
That's
Viking.
that's
That's true.
that's a that's a playlist there with two guides and then a setup for your controller if you want to do stair skating easier with door skip. So
Brilliant stuff. Right, well, Tom, you enjoy the rest of your evening, buddy, and I'm sure I'll speak to you again soon, my mate.
Yeah, you too, Liam. Thank you for having me on again.
No problems. Take care, buddy.
You too, dude.
Bye bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Brother Tom, sir. Like I say, I've known Tom for a very long time now. I met Tom very early on into me coming on to Twitch. Love the guy. I think what you like about what I like about Tom the most is the fact that like there's no bullshit. Do you know what I mean? What you see is what you get with Tom, and I'm very much I'm the type of guy that very much appreciates that. Right, what we're going to do, guys, is I am quickly going to nip to the Be Right Back screen. Yeah, and his massive cock. What can I say? It's like a fucking tub of. It's like that bottle of water. In fact, but bigger even. But what I'm going to do, guys, so I'm going to quickly jump to the Be Right Back screen. I'm going to nip to the loo, and I think I am going to attempt to finish Resident Evil 4 Hardcore. So don't go anywhere, guys, and we will be back shortly.